Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back to the planet at no cost to you, and there's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement. Only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
Hello and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm your host, Carla Anita Matiazzo. And today's guest is a cabaret queen. She is the ambassador for Guide Dogs Australia, Melbourne Queer Film Festival, Movember, Give Out Australia, LGBTQ DVA Foundation, and she's coming back to Adelaide. Back by popular demand, Dolly is squeezing in 2 last Adelaide Piano Party shows before she heads off to the Motherland. Come and laugh until you cry while Dolly dishes out her sharp wit and unique blend of comedy cabaret. Due to current restrictions, show will have limited seating, so book your tickets now before they sell out. This is your last chance to see Dolly Down Under for quite some time. Doors open at 7 p.m. Grab yourself a signature Dolly cocktail before the show starts at 8 p.m. Thursday, the 19th of August, Friday, the 20th of August at Arthur's Art Bar. Welcome to the show, Dolly Diamond.
Ah, well, it's a joy to be with you.
It's so good to have you. Thank you so much. So usually we start with people's first crushes and the story around their first crush and what happened there. So can you tell the listener what your first crush was and what happened with that story?
Well, my word, I used to be a really big fan, well, I guess I still am, of ABBA. I loved ABBA. And I used to have I had a crush on Agnetha, but also the boys, Penny and Bjorn, and I loved their music. Now, what actually happened? Very little. I mean, I really had to realise, didn't I, that wasn't going to eventuate. And obviously, you know, that was a little upsetting, but you move on, don't you? And it's amazing when you're younger how quickly you can develop a new crush.
That's true. With that crush with ABBA, were there ever times where you recreated a scenario in your mind as to what would happen if you did meet them?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, there's more than once. I mean, that's often when we're younger, that's what gets us through the night. You know, I could picture myself. Listen, I don't know if when I was that young, I don't remember thinking, oh, what a lovely threesome that would be. I remember thinking I wouldn't mind doing them individually. And, you know, I've been a bit naughty there, really, by doing them. I mean, like, you know, having a lovely evening and kissing them. And, you know, I don't think at when I was a young girl, I was thinking of Rumpy Bumpy. It was more just having a lovely romantic night.
So what does a romantic night involve then, Dolly? What were the specifics of that scenario?
Do you mean back then?
Yeah, back then, what did romance look like for you as a young lady?
Well, I reckon you imagined them, I did. I imagined them singing only to me, you know, so that when they were up, whenever they were working and doing their thing and, you know, that little bit of gyrating that they did, that was only for me.
Yes.
But I would imagine there's lots of others, girls and boys, let's be honest, that were thinking exactly the same. I don't meet that many people, though, that had the same crush. I think I'm alone.
When I was a teenage girl, there were definite boy bands that I'd be crushing on and imagining, romantic things unfolding. I don't think you're alone in that imagination there.
No. Oh, no. Just maybe not with Benny and Bjorn.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Maybe.
Did you like one of the Backstreet Boys?
Good question. I think the weird thing that I found was whether it be Hanson, Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, I'd always try and find out who the oldest one in the group was, and then I intellectually decided that was the one that I liked. I don't know what that says about me, but I think I think it was always, me wanting the mature man. I think that's where I was going with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Want the older one or you want the younger one and you want to baby them.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's talk about that.
You needed an older man.
Yes. That hasn't changed, I don't think, Dolly.
No, me either. just that they're getting really old for me at this stage.
So what is your age range that you would date then, Dolly? How many years above or below?
When you get my age, you are less specific about details and more grateful. I don't mind.
Dolly, you're only in your 30s, so what are you talking about?
Yeah, that would be the summers, but what about the winters? I don't mind. I think that you've got to go by the individual.
Yes.
I mean, you could meet a nice 21-year-old man and, he might sweep you off your feet. Well, good luck. But
no.
I don't mind really, but I guess it's more of my own age or even a little older I'm all right with.
Yes. So what are the characteristics that win you over when it comes to romance and dating? What do they have to have?
Well, I like it. Well, I like it when they're alive. I like it when they've got their own teeth. I like it when they, yes. I mean, but gumming can be lovely. I don't know. I think just I love someone who has wonderful manners.
Yes.
And I like to be treated well, but I'm more than capable of treating others well.
Yes.
It's a mutual respect. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very attractive. So when you say manners, I think people forget that manners, well, this is just how I feel, Dolly. You tell me if you think any different, but manners to me is an acknowledgement a little bit of respect and kindness and care that you have for the other person.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you
not
think?
only the one that you're with, but that those that are around you. We've all been with someone, and it could be a mate or someone you're with, and when you're at a restaurant and they're rude to, the waiter or the manager or anyone, well, I think that's a level of what they're like.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to be like that when you're around, what are they like when you're not? I mean,
exactly.
Nobody is better than anybody else. And, we've got to learn to, just be respectful. I mean, I get annoyed when people are idiots, and I know a lot. But, you've got to be understanding. You've got to be nice. You've got to be kind, and you've got to be respectful.
Yes. When you have life experience that then give you a certain world view, sometimes you can become, I find, a bit impatient when people aren't up to speed at where you're at, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, it definitely does. Yes. And I've gotten a little better. I used to be very, very impatient, and now I'm a little better because of what you just mentioned. We are all at different levels, and expecting everybody to be on your level of whatever it is, that's just that's not possible, because,
right.
And it doesn't mean that your level is right. It means it's right for you at the moment.
That's right.
But,
Correct.
We're all different. And, I think being more accepting of others is a daily struggle.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. Very much so. When it comes to dating, has there been experiences that have stood out positively or negatively in your experience, and what were the lessons that you learnt through those dating experiences, Dolly?
Well, if I'm really honest, and I will be, it's been a while. I mean, I like to believe it's been a while because I focused more on my work. But I reckon it's that, and the fact that I've lost interest. I think it's not to say I'm dead, or I'm definitely not dormant down below. And, it will happen again. And I just, you get in a self-imposed rut. And when you're all right with it, you don't mind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody always asks, are you with anyone? Which, I've asked, others as well, because it's just on the list of what you ask, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, no, I'm happy on my own. And their response is normally, are you though? Are you? I think, yes, I am. And if you're the only option, I definitely am. But I think it is all right to be on your own. It's as long as you're all right being on your own.
Yes, I agree with that. The marrying of value and being single does not compute with people often.
No, and it's when you're in a relationship, it's almost as if when you meet someone who's single, they feel like it's their job to sort you out, to solve your issues, or even addressing your issues, really. And, it's just, it isn't what I need. And, I end that conversation very quickly.
Yes. Yes. Has there been any times where people have tried to set you up and the setup has made you question the friendship you have with that person because they got it so wrong?
I've gone on dates like that, and it might not have ended in a way that anyone imagined, but I don't mind that. I don't look for it. I don't encourage it.
Yes.
But I think it's nice that your mates, it's got to be a good mate, that they believe that you would, and and also, when you realise perhaps early on in an evening or wherever that you have the conversation, that you don't lead anyone on or give them expectations that something might happen. But I think there's nothing wrong with it.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of The Catchalorette and Friends. Make sure you follow the podcast at The Catchalorette Pod on Instagram. And if you think your love journey is worth sharing with me on the podcast, send me an email, thecatchalorettepod@gmail.com, or slide into my Instagram DMs. Oh, and don't forget to give the podcast a review and tell all your motherfucking people to listen to the show. Now let's get back to this episode.
I don't know if there's any value in being relationship hungry.
Oh, explain that. Explain that.
I just think that, you know, you may, if you want a relationship and you go out and you're desperate for a relationship, you know, it is unlikely that you're going to walk into one. You've got to do your level best to enjoy the moment and not look for more the moment you embark on a relationship. Or, you know, because I guess we do embark on a relationship the moment we meet someone, and, you know, enjoy it night for night, not imagining, right, now, all right, this is it, this could be the what, I'm going to be moving in, oh my God, we're living together. No, you're just going out for dinner. You're just going back. You're just meeting them again. You're just going, you know, whatever it is. But when we've got that, you know, absolute starving relationship hunger, I don't think it ever works.
So do you think that's when one would theoretically attract the wrong person? So desperate to just have that relationship no matter who it's with. Do you think that that's where people tend to settle and end up in the wrong relationship for them? We've
all eaten the wrong meal. We've all rushed to get something to eat, thinking that this will do me, I'll be satisfied after that. And then you eat it and you think, oh, why on earth did I eat that? And it's exactly the same with men or women. And, you know, I just... You know, you've got to make sure it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we've all had that. You know,
that's where the lessons come.
Thank God that wasn't the Last Supper. Yes, exactly. Yes, you learn a little more the older you get. That's if you listen to, you know, your mistakes.
Yes, that's correct. So, Dolly, can you tell me what the biggest lesson in love you have had throughout your journey?
Well, I think listening is really, really important. And, you know, you listen and a lot of the time we've already made up our mind. And because you know you're right, I know I'm right. And then you listen and you're not really listening.
Yes.
And, you know, it's very difficult. And then you listen and you get more of what you don't believe or you don't agree with. And then you think, right, I knew I was right all along, you know, and you think, well, but I guess what it is that when you listen, you've got to make that decision that, you know, you deal with each little bit. And my mum and dad were together for many years, and their motto was never going to bed on an argument. It is the most difficult thing you could ever do, because, you know, when you're really, really angry, you don't want to be sitting up all night sorting it out. You just want to, you know, it's like, screw you. And then, you know, that's it. You can sleep in the other room. And but it's all down to listening, you know, listening and not making your mind up before they've even spoken. Yes, not writing the script for the duologue before it actually happens. Yes, that's really important. Exactly. That's really important. So were there any other lessons that your parents taught you about love, Dolly, that you have taken on board through your life? Well, only by watching them, you know, they argued, and I think they believed that arguing was all right. And, you know, it was varying degrees of loud, and I think it is all right to argue. And but there's a level of respect that needs to be there. Yes. It's the easiest thing you want to do is, you know, call someone a name, and we've all done it. And you normally know the name that's really going to wound them the most as well, you know. But, yeah, I think they taught me to love and respect one another.
That's beautiful. I think respect is such an important foundation in relationships that seems to be, from my experience, a rare thing. And then when you find it in a relationship, it's you realize how much you didn't have it previously. I think people totally I don't think it's spoken about enough. So I love that we're speaking about respect. And respect is, I guess, even when you're so angry at that person or they've really pissed you off, not going into those cheap jabs because you know it's going to hurt. Like, yeah, it's interesting that you're bringing up respect because it's so important.
They are as delicious as, you know, the thing that's not on your diet. You know, we know that in the moment it's great and you feel good for, you know, landing that blow. But later on you'll regret it.
Yes.
You'll just regret it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's exactly right. And then you have to go back and, you know, sew up the wound that you created.
Oh, I know, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you think, Dolly, that there's a way in which people can have arguments, in inverted commas, or discussions with their, you know, significant other that come back to respect when both parties, are able to communicate clearly? Do you think that that's an essential thing, especially when there's difficult conversations?
Yes, but it obviously is something that you would need to work on a lot. And, you know, I don't know if there's anything wrong with, look, you know, let's take a break. Let's leave it there. And let's work this out later because, you know, otherwise it just, all these lessons are wonderful. But when you're in the heat of the moment, you know, you're not listening to that. You know, you're not learning, are you? You're angry, you're pissed off. Where were you? Why were you doing? You know, all of those. It's really difficult to get everything like that into action.
Yes, that's true. When it's in the moment, it is really hard to implement the theoretical things that we hope that we would do in that moment.
Yes.
Have you ever had a date or a romantic experience that have completely blown you away, Dolly?
Yes. And then often... Well, I mean, the last time that happened, I was in a relationship for 7 years.
Right, yes.
And a lot of those years, you know, were wonderful. And, you know, I don't regret any of that, really, because why? Why regret it? But, you know, then we broke up. And even after we broke up, I couldn't work out why I wasn't happy, and I realized it's because he was still alive.
Yep.
But there is very little that you can do about that legally.
Legally, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I know that feeling oh so well, Dolly. Oh, so well. So then how did you release that? How did you let that go?
I have perfected the art of making a voodoo doll.
Tell us about that.
And I absolutely loved, I've always loved to create and craft.
Yes.
And I've made some wonderful voodoo dolls over the years of some of the men that I've been with. And the likeness is often uncanny. And I enjoy an evening, sometimes a late afternoon, of sitting there and sticking pins in various areas of the body. It really is quite cathartic, whiling away an hour with very little on my mind other than the area where I'm focused on. And it's like little chappy moments in my day, and I love it. And I really recommend it. I am thinking of bringing out a collection of Dolly Diamond voodoo dolls where all you have to do is get their likeness, and you can add their likeness to each individual doll. And for your pleasure, we could do a live voodoo doll demonstration at Arthur's.
How long have you been making the voodoo dolls, Dolly?
In a little while now, but the earlier ones obviously were quite crude, and they've gotten better. Oh, have they gotten better?
Oh my goodness, that is so funny. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Very, very, very therapeutic way to rid yourself of the past relationships.
Will we be getting you up for a number?
Oh, I'd love to. You just let me know. Let me know when.
I think it would be lovely. I've got my mate, Dean Arcuri, is going to be joining us. A fabulous Melbourne boy.
Excellent.
And we love it. We love it when when we get everyone else up. But you were amazing last time. It would be lovely to have you back again.
Oh, thanks, Dolly. That was so lovely. Thank you. You were fucking hilarious as always. Like, that's a given.
Think us Bomb.
That's right. There's plenty of swearing on this podcast, Dolly.
Oh, wow, that's number one. My word.
My word. You were hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Such a joy to see different parts of Adelaide be created into those spaces. No, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'd love to have a sing. You just let me know what night you want, and I'll definitely rock up. Tell us about how you've gone, Dolly, with all these bloody border closing and whatnot. You seem to be able to move yourself around so that you were avoiding these frustrating and heartbreaking lockdowns.
I know. I'm really, really lucky with all that. And, but I think what else do you do? There's, if you are somewhere and there is a lockdown, you just got to deal with it and try to look after your mental health.
My director and I were talking about artists' mental health, and it just feels like this year feels like a sequel movie, like a terrible sequel movie to, in a franchise series. It is
never ending, isn't it?
Yeah. It just feels like we're taking a few steps forward and then it's 10 steps back. It's pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is.
How long until you leave back to the motherland, Dolly?
I leave on September the 5th.
Oh, wow.
Which is only around the corner, really.
Yeah.
And it'll be sad to say goodbye. But, a new adventure awaits.
Yes, fantastic new adventure awaits. How long have you been in Australia for, Dolly?
12 years.
Wow. No, what made you come here? What made you decide to come here?
I got thrown out of England. No, I didn't. I visited my family that were living over here, and I loved it. I've been doing that nearly 18 years.
That's absolutely amazing. Before I love and leave you, Dolly, can you give us some parting words of wisdom when it comes to dating, relationships, and whatnot?
Well, yes, and my easiest one, and I've been using this a while, And it's really, really easy. And it isn't only for dating, it's for absolutely anything in your life. Is never let the bastards get you down. And I mean, that is the easiest thing to ever remember. And it is up to you and me and everybody else, that when we get really low, and we all get low, it's all right. It's all right to be low. But it's knowing that you've got the ability to get yourself out of that rut and to move on. And never let the bastards get you down.
I love it. That's brilliant. Excellent note to end on. Thank you so much, Dolly, for coming on. You have been an absolute delight.
No worries. Loved it. Loved it.
The Bachelorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Bachelorette and friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.